On a summer morning in 1986, Spain's rugged terrain cradled a mystery that would torment the nation for decades. The Somosierra Mountain Pass, a name that now sends chills down the spine, bore witness to a tragedy as twisted as the roads that carved through its peaks. Andrés Martínez Navarro, a truck driver, embarked on what should have been a routine journey from Cartagena to Bilbao, a route he had likely traveled countless times. But this time, he was not alone. His wife, Carmen Gomez, and their 10-year-old son, Juan Pedro, accompanied him. Juan was eager for the adventure, as it was a promised reward for his good grades. The drive. The truck, a red Volvo F12, was carrying 20,000 liters of sulfuric acid, a chemical potent enough to dissolve almost anything in its path. The weight of this load hung heavy as the vehicle wound its way through the Somosierra Pass. Then, in a moment that would shatter lives and ignite countless theories, the truck lost control. The vehicle began to pick up speed, rapidly accelerating to a dangerous rate for such a steep descent. The truck's path became increasingly erratic. It overtook one vehicle on the narrow road, then another, each time coming dangerously close to the edge. In one instance, it scraped against another truck, knocking off its side mirror, and in another, it rear-ended a car, forcing it off the road. To other drivers, it was clear that the Volvo was out of control. Its brakes, perhaps, had failed. Fatally, the truck crashed and the acid spilled, searing through metal and earth. Rescuers arrived quickly, and were met with a scene of devastation. Andrés and Carmen were dead, having perished instantly upon impact. But amid the chaos, there was one glaring revelation: the body of Juan Pedro was nowhere to be found. The boy, who had been with his parents just hours earlier, had seemingly vanished. His clothes, cassette tapes, and other personal items were found scattered within the truck, but of the boy itself, there was no trace. Authorities lifted the wreckage, dug through the debris, and scoured the surrounding area. The search was extensive, but yielded nothing substantial. Not a single clue as to the fate of Juan Pedro could be found. We spent more than 2 months going from bush to bush around that point in the Sierra. We couldn't rule out the possibility that the little one got scared and ran through the mountains. But there was no sign of it within a radius of 30 kilometers. Juan Manuel Sanchez, captain of the civil guard responsible for the search operation. More questions than answers. What followed was an investigation that led authorities down a rabbit hole of confusion and contradiction. The truck's tachograph revealed a bizarre pattern: 12 inexplicable stops along the final stretch of road before the crash. Stops that should not have happened given the terrain and the lack of traffic. What was Andrés doing? Was he coerced? Was he trying to signal for help? The tachograph's cold, mechanical precision offered no answers, only more questions. Many, in the early hours of the investigation, had theorized that faulty brakes were the cause of the crash. However, upon inspection, the Volvo's brakes were found to be in perfect working order. There was no mechanical failure, no defect in the brake system that could explain the truck's reckless descent. This discovery only deepened the mystery, leaving experts to wonder what could have caused Andrés Martínez to drive in such a frantic manner. Then came the discovery that twisted the narrative further. Traces of heroin were found in the truck, not enough to suggest personal use, but enough to imply something. Neither of Juan's parents were known to use or distribute drugs. However, family members would later disclose that Andrés had previously been coerced into transporting heroin to northern Spain by a local drug smuggling ring. This admission dramatically altered the trajectory of the case, leading investigators to speculate that Juan Pedro might have been abducted not merely as a victim of circumstance, but as a deliberate act to protect him from the wrath of the drug traffickers. The possibility that the boy's life was spared, or perhaps even used as leverage, became a chilling new angle in the ongoing mystery. Was Andrés involved in drug trafficking? Was Juan Pedro a pawn in a dangerous game played by ruthless criminals? These questions swirled, darkening the already murky waters of the investigation. A car, a man, and the woman in white. As if the case wasn't already steeped in mystery, eyewitnesses reported seeing a white Nissan Vanette at the scene, its occupants, a man with a foreign accent and a blonde woman clad totally in white. Like a doctor, acting with unnerving calm amid the chaos. They were seen approaching the truck, loitering around the area as if searching for something, retrieving what appeared to be a bundle from the wreckage, then driving off, never to be seen again. Some of the witnesses even claimed there was another third man in the vehicle. Who were they? What did they take from the scene? Was it Juan Pedro? Or something else entirely? Theories ranged from drug lords to human traffickers to benevolent strangers who, in a panic, made the worst possible choice. Theories and speculations. As the tragic crash settled into the annals of Spanish history, what began as a simple traffic accident morphed into one of Europe's most perplexing mysteries. Interpol would dub it the strangest missing person case in Europe. The disappearance of Juan Pedro Martinez ignited a firestorm of speculation, with theories as varied as they were chilling. How could a 10-year-old boy simply vanish from a scene so drenched in tragedy, without a trace? One of the earliest theories proposed a gruesome scenario, that Juan Pedro had been entirely dissolved by the acid. Yet, this notion was quickly dispelled by chemists, who pointed out that sulfuric acid, though potent, would not have had the time to completely dissolve a human body, especially not one as large as a child's, before emergency responders arrived. Also, the body would have needed to be totally submerged, rather than just showered by the acid. And even if such a dissolution were possible, remnants like bones, teeth, and other resilient tissues would have been found. But they weren't. The absence of even the smallest trace of Juan Pedro left investigators baffled. In the aftermath of the crash, the discovery of heroin traces in the truck's tanker introduced a worrying twist. Was Andres Martinez, a seemingly ordinary truck driver, entangled in the underworld of drug trafficking? The stops along the Somosierra Pass suddenly seemed less random, possibly prearranged exchanges with dangerous criminals. The idea that Juan Pedro might have been taken as leverage, or as retribution for his father's defiance, began to gain credibility. It paints a picture of a desperate father, risking everything in a reckless attempt to save his son, a decision that ultimately led to tragedy. Yet, the most out there theory involves the mysterious white Nissan, reportedly driven by a foreign-accented couple who appeared at the crash site. Witnesses described a tall man and a woman dressed in white, doctor-like attire, who seemed less concerned with helping and more focused on retrieving something, or someone, from the wreckage. Could this couple have been part of a criminal network, ensuring that Juan Pedro was never found? Or, in a more innocent but equally disturbing scenario, did they find the boy injured and make a fateful decision to conceal their involvement when he succumbed to his injuries? This raises a flood of questions. If Juan Pedro did survive the initial crash, even briefly, why did this couple disappear without a trace? Why was there no follow-up, no anonymous tip to the authorities, no body recovered? The boy who was never found. In the months and years that followed, the story of Juan Pedro's disappearance grew, fueled by speculation, sightings, and the haunting possibility that he might still be alive, somewhere. One witness claimed to have seen a boy matching his description in Madrid, guiding an elderly, blind woman who claimed to have fled Iran. But just like the boy's fate, this lead vanished into yet another fog of uncertainty. What truly happened on that mountain pass? Was Juan Pedro's body somehow dissolved in the acid, a victim of circumstance? Or was he taken, spirited away by forces unknown? 38 years later and questions still linger, unanswered, as the Somosierra Pass remains a silent witness to one of Europe's most chilling mysteries.